Hi, in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at a new command in Emacs 29 called yank-media, which supports yanking non-plain text media like images and HTML from other applications into Emacs. It's only supported in modes that are registered support for it and only on capable platforms. And this is a blog post about it from Lars Ingebrigtsen, and this is a little demo down here. And let me just pause this video and set it full screen. So this is actually copying image into message mode. So there are only two modes that are currently supported. That's message mode and HTML. I'll just play this video and you can have a look. So what's going to happen is you're going to come across here, copy the actual image to the clipboard, then run yank-media and be prompted for a image file type, and then it inserts it into the buffer there. Okay, so that's the message mode. Then what we also have is that's paused, the HTML mode. So let's have a look at this. So what you'll see here is actually copying some HTML and then switching to an HTML buffer in Emacs and actually pasting it in. Okay. So what we want to do is actually get this working with org mode. So what I'm going to do is show you this with HTML first of all. So go on test.html to create an HTML file. And let me just come back up here. Let me just pause these. And copy this image to the clipboard. So I'm coming across to copy image. Not copy image link, which would give you the URL. We're copying the image to the clipboard. And I'm on Wayland here. And what I'm going to do is run yank-media. It's going to prompt me for a MIME type that I want to save this as. So I'm going to type save it as image webp. Then it prompts me to save the image to a location and give it a file name. So I'll call this image.webp. And as you can see there, what it's done is it's actually inserted the image code for the HTML to insert the image, and it's inserted the image here as a 200 by 200 sort of maximum size. So what I'm going to do is actually come across into this org document. Now let me, if I run yank-media, what happens in the org document here is you'll see the org mode hasn't registered any handlers. So the way this command works is you actually have to register a handler for this command for a particular mode. So now if I switch across to my init.el file, what I've done is a bit of detective work and grabbed some code, which I'll show you the location of, to knock up something for org mode. So we have a media handler, you can see here, yank media handler image, and then this, I don't know what you call it. This is going to call this function here down here. So this is saying, you know, handle all image types. So we're not using HTML, just images. And then run this function. So this is the function. So let me see if I can actually get this working. So the issue that I'm having is I have to reload my init.el to get this to work. So let me see if I can get this to work now. Copy image. Yank media. Okay, it's not doing. Let me see if I load file. I've got to do it in this buffer. Maybe I've got to kill this buffer and restart it. A yank media. Okay, let me just try closing that and opening it. I may have to restart Emacs or something, but it does actually work. So yank media. Okay, it's not doing it. So I have actually set this up, but let me just restart Emacs. Okay, let's try it again. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you it not working again. Great, yeah. That's just what you want to see, something not working. So yank media, no, the org mode hasn't registered any handlers. See if I can get this to, I reload my emacs.init.el. Okay, no handler in the current buffer for anything on the clipboard, and that's because I haven't copied this to the clipboard. I need to do that again. So copy image, yank media. Now it's coming up. Image WebP. So I'll choose image WebP. I'm going to call this working.webp. And what you'll see here is it's actually inserted the after the file. So we've got file working WebP. If I run ctrl-c xv, what that does is that toggles inline images, and you'll see that the image has now been inserted. I'm going to close this org document and then reopen it. And what you'll see is that the image is automatically displayed, and the reason for that is this section up here, inline images, and what that does is that automatically toggles inline images to be visible. So let me see if I can get this to work a second time and try and break it. So I did notice there was some things about it's got to work under a single headline or something. So let's see if that actually works. So heading 2 and see if it work again. Copy that image, copy another one, copy image, and it'll probably fail. Yank media. See, now saying the org mode hasn't registered any handlers. We've got it to work once, but then not again. So let's see if it was the heading. So you can see we got it to work once, but then it's not working again. So let's have a bit of a dig and see where all this code comes from. So what we got here is this is the sort of the post about it. This is the Emacs 29 news with some information about the command. And here's a development thread about this. So if I come into one of these down here, what it's saying is you've got to register the handlers. So what we do is we have this kind of thing here, like this yank media handler image, my image handler. And you see down here, the yank media command will consult the registered handlers in the current buffer, compare that with the available media types on the clipboard, and then pass the matching selection to the handler, if any. If there's more than one matching selection, the user is queried first. So that's the sort of gist of it. If you have a look for Emacs 29 yank media, these are the links you'll get: the Emacs news and the random thoughts, and this blog post on Reddit, basically about it. Sort of, you know, this is from a couple of years ago. And if you scroll down here, yeah, they're basically saying that it only works in message mode and HTML mode, and not any other modes. So what we're going to do is actually have a look at where all this code comes from, how we can actually try and get this working in org mode properly. Okay, so if we run ctrl-h ctrl-h-v, and then look up yank media registered handlers, so this is a variable defined in yank-media.el. Its value is null, not documented as a variable. So let's have a look at this file. So this is the yank-media.el file. You can see here it's actually a GZ file. So what we've got here is this function here, yank media images and the like from the clipboard. This command depends on the current major mode having support for accepting the media type. The mode has to register itself using the yank media handlers mechanism. So let me just switch back to my org file. So this is the yank media handler. Okay, so what happens here is you can see here, this is the error we're getting. The S mode hasn't registered any handlers major mode. So that was when we're getting the error in org mode saying org mode hasn't registered any handlers. So let's have a look through this. So we've got the find matching media, and the way this actually works is I'll copy this bit of code to the clipboard and switch to a scratch buffer and show you. The way this works under the hood is it uses this command here, GUI get selection clipboard targets. So if I come across here and copy this image, the clipboard, and then evaluate this bit of code by putting my cursor at the end here and running ctrl-x, ctrl-e, what you'll see here is printing out text HTML, image PNG, image JPEG, So these are the things that actually pop up in that little menu at the bottom. Those are the options we can insert. So this is what he uses under the hood to actually get the contents of the clipboard. Now this may vary on Windows and Mac how this works, but I'm just showing you in Linux. So that's how it works under the hood. And what we've got down here is the yank media handler. So register the handler for dealing with yank media action for types. Type should be a MIME type, symbol or a regular expression, or a list that can be that can contain both symbols and regular expressions. Handler is a function that will be called with two arguments, the MIME type and the selection. So that's this bit of code here, and I'll show you where I got this from. What I did was a bit of detective work, bit of lateral thinking. The modes that are actually supported are the message mode and the HTML mode. So what I did was I actually had a look at the HTML mode source file to see how it implemented the image handler, and this is where I got that code from, and I'll show you that file as well. So this is the image handler. So what you can see is down at the bottom, make local variable yank media registered handlers, ensure list, a list, get type, yank media registered handlers, nil equal, and then handler. So I'm guessing this might be the thing that checks the registered handlers in the current buffer. So I'll go through all the different permutations of things I've tried to get this to work in org mode. But what I'm guessing by reading the documentation is that it looks up in the current buffer for a list of registered handlers, and then basically runs a command if it finds one. So the issue is, for some reason, it's not finding the registered handler in the org buffer. I don't know if this is the this is where we need to be digging in the right spot. So then we've got like yank media types, and this yanks any element present in the primary selection or the clipboard. This is primarily meant as a debugging tool. Many of the elements like image will be inserted as raw data into the current buffer. So what that basically means is it's not going to be inserting the image as an image, it'll be inserting it as data. So you get like, when you base 64 encode an image and you insert that into a buffer, you just get, a load of gibberish. So yank media is the command that inserts images as images. So this is the actual yank media file, and we've got stuff like the formats. So that's basically most of it. So looking at this is the section we need to kind of be looking at to get this working. The yank media handler seems to be the place to dig. So what I'm going to do now is close that and actually come across to the HTML mode and show you the code in there. So if I come across to user local share Emacs, I built this from source, so the path on your system may be different. Lisp mode, what was it? Text modes? Yeah, text modes. Okay. So, long path to look at. What we're actually going to be looking at is a file called sgml-mode.el.gz. So if I come into this file and then search for yank media, what you'll see down here is this section here: yank media handler, text HTML, HTML mode, HTML yank handler. So this is handling text HTML. So that was when the guy in the video was copying the HTML from the web page and pasting it into an HTML document. The one that we're interested in down here is the yank media handler image yank handler. So what we want to do is actually find this function here, this HTML mode image yank handler, and take a look at that. So okay, so this is the function for HTML mode that will actually insert the image. So what we've got here is define function HTML mode image yank handler type image. So save image to type. So this is the section that comes up, prompts you to select a MIME type first of all, and then saves the image as a file, with a file name. So you can see here with temp buffer, set buffer, insert image. What you see here is this is the code that I've pilfered basically and actually changed. So what you see here, it says insert format, and you've got image source, and we got %S, and that's important because that adds quotes around the file name, which you'd want in HTML but not in org mode. Then what it does is insert image, create image, mail cap, mail type to extension type, and then max width 200, height 200, and that's when you if I've got that file back there, yank media HTML. When that was inserted, you saw the small image there, 200 by 200. That's where that setting comes from. So this is the image yank handler for HTML mode. So what I did was I copied those two bits of code. So we've got the media handler up here, yank media handler. Then we've got the image because we're not interested in the text HTML. We just want, the images at this stage at least. And then we call the function here. Now this could be named anything. You see, I think in the mailing list somewhere, I think maybe in another post. Yeah, no, it's here. You can see my HTML handler, my image handler. So then this is the function that I've copied from the HTML mode here. So basically I've copied this function here, but I've removed this little section down here. So what we have in this section here is at the bottom, insert format file. So what you can see here is the format that I'm inserting is a org link for an image. So for an org link for an image, you typically do, double brackets, file, colon, and then the path to the file. The important thing is the lowercase s. You can see here in this bit of code here, we've got a uppercase s. The difference is, if I come across here, what you'll see, the uppercase s, what that does is that surrounds the file name with double quotes here, which obviously you'd want in HTML mode. But in org mode, if I come out of that and into the org file, we want this format, don't we? We want file, colon, this with the file name here. And if I just come across and delete the end bracket, you can see what it looks like, file working.webp. And I can toggle the inline images with Ctrl-C, Ctrl-X, Ctrl-V. So that's why we have the lowercase s here. So that all kind of works, but as you see, it was flaky. If I come back again, I got it to work once, but then, God's law, it wouldn't work again. So let's come back here, try another image, copy image, yank media. See, it hasn't registered any handlers, even though we had it working before. So for some reason it's, even though I've run the reloaded my init.el file, it's still not picking up the registered handler for the org mode. So let's try load file, emacs config emacs init.el yank media. No current handler for anything in the buffer on the clipboard. Okay, now if I switch back here, let's try another image. Let's just see if we can. I'll give us something with an image. Okay. That's a bleeding video, of course, isn't it? Right, copy image. Let's try this one. Yank media, image webp, nufc.webp. Now you can see it's inserted the file link. I run ctrl-c, ctrl-xv. You'll see that it's now inserted that. If I close that and then reopen it, you'll see the images are automatically shown because of this inline images option up at the top. So let's try it again. Let's get rid of. What I want to do also is, I did see something mentioned about headings mucking things up. Heading 2. So let's see if I've broken it again. Go back, see if we've got another image here. Is Callum. Copy image. Okay, so now you see org mode hasn't registered any handlers. So that's the really weird thing, is it'll work and then you do it again and it doesn't. Which is not exactly what you want. So let's try reloading that. Load file. So, do you know what I mean? You couldn't do this. Now see if it comes up. Probably won't. Yank media, no handler for current anything on the button there. Let's try to copy this. Copy image. Yank media. Image webp. Column.webp. Okay, it's inserted that, so the heading hasn't sort of affected it. And there we go. We got an image inserted there. And that's actually a really nice example with the transparency. So this is we've inserted this as a WebP image which supports alpha transparency. So that's actually pretty cool. So let's do a bit more investigation on this. So this is the little recap. This is where we got the code from, this sgml-mode.el file, and let me just show you the path of that. So you can see the path here is actually truncated, but on my system, you can see here I've got this up. It's user local share emacs 30050. Stay up there, please. Lisp text modes sgml-mode.el.gz. So this is the mode for HTML, and this is basically where we get the 2 bits of the equation, the link handler and then the actual function code. So that's where we got that from. And what we also did was we ran ctrl-hv, describe variable, yank media handlers, that then gives you this link to this yank-media.el file. So this is the yank-media.el file that we were taking a look at. So these are the interesting bits up here, the yank media mechanism. And this is how it checks for the yank media registered handlers. This is the issue we keep coming up against. Why is it not loading the handler into the org buffer? And I'll go through a few things that I actually tried to get this working. So these are the bits to actually have a look at to try and get this working in org mode. The yank media registered handlers, find fetching media. So this section here, I'm guessing this is what it is. And you can see this corresponds to here. This is the yank media handler. So what we have is the image. So this is when we inserted that image, you know, it comes up with like image WebP, image PNG, that kind of thing. So it's matching all the image asterisks, all the image types on the clipboard, and then it should run this function here, org mode inline, org mode image yank handler. And I've tried, you know, different names. That doesn't fix the issue of it automatically detecting it in the buffer and loading it. So what we've got here is this org mode image handler. We've got the type. So this is what comes up when you run it, where it prompts you to select the MIME type and then save it. And this is the bit at the bottom here, byte region point min max file. And this is where we insert it using the org syntax for a image link. So that all works. So what I've tried is I've tried things like you know, with eval after load org, tried things like this. So I'll just go through some of the things I've tried. You know, stuff like that, but I'm guessing that the reason, I'm not sure, one, if the syntax is right, two, if it that doesn't work because org is, I'm using the inbuilt org as opposed to org, you know, installed from a package, you know, from, you know, Melpo or whatever it is. So I've tried that doesn't get it to load. I tried using things like add hook. I've also tried add to list. So if I come through, okay, what you can see down here is this sedf a list get type yank media registered handlers nil equal handler. I've faffed about using kind of different combinations, wondering if what you've kind of got to do is like add to list, org mode a list, you know, registered handler, something like that, to actually register it for the org buffer. But I'm a bit stuck, so I'll have to blunder around unless anyone's who's got a bit more knowledge of Lisp can eLisp can you know, find the final piece of the puzzle. But if we could actually get this working, I think it would be great. Really make using org a lot easier to add images, because normally if you were going to do something like, you'd have to do you know, save image as, save it to the downloads folder, move it into the right, you know, directory where your org file is, and then manually type out the link and, you know, type out the name of the image to insert. So this does sort of speed things up if we can actually get the bleeding thing working. But as yet, I haven't figured out how to automatically get this to load in the buffer. I'm not sure, looking around the documentation and stuff, why it's not working, whereas this is essentially the same code as in the HTML mode, but it's not automatically loaded. So if I kill Emacs and restart it, okay, so see, these are the images coming in. We just actually I'll just delete one of these and add a other test 2. Copy image. So in Firefox, you want to do copy image, not copy image link. Copy image link copies the URL, and that copies the image, obviously. So yank media, nothing. Okay. What I'm going to do, you see, yank media org mode hasn't registered any handlers, so that's the error that you get. If you run yank media types, what happens is, what you'll see here is you get the same thing here. You see it says primary, and that's because it's coming from the primary clipboard. And what it's doing is it's actually giving us a variety of MIME types that we can insert into this document. But what it's going to do is it's going to insert it as raw data as opposed to an image. I'll show you what I mean. Not the same thing. No. So that's no good for us. That's primarily used for sort of like a debugging kind of thing. So if I do load file, I mean, I'll show you also if I just evaluate this section of code. So for instance, if I was just, you know, put my cursor at the end of these and evaluate them, yank media, oh, I don't want to do yank media types, yank media, just evaluating them doesn't make any difference. So if I evaluate the whole region here, eval region, so this is just me going through all the different permutations of things that I've tried to get this actually working, and what doesn't work. So if I evaluate the whole region, let those 2 blocks of code, and then come across here. I'll even close this document down and reopen it. Okay. See if that makes any difference. Yank media. Org mode hasn't registered any handlers. So you can see even just evaluating those 2 blocks of code doesn't actually get it to work. It's only when I reload the entire init.el file that it actually picks it up, and it only does it occasionally, especially not when I'm doing a demo. So config emacs init.el, okay, then we come across here, recopy that, and it should work this time. Not to jinx it or anything. Yank media, now it's working. So image png, we'll call this column.png. You can see there it's inserted it as a link, and again the important thing was we had to use the lowercase s down here in the file so that it's unquoted, because otherwise what would happen is it would put double quotes around this and it wouldn't actually work as a image link. So if I run ctrl-c-xv, you'll see it's now actually displaying that nicely, so it's inserted it. So you can see the issue is somehow that even though I've got the code, you know, the right code, it's not being registered in the buffer. There's something that it's not picking up. It's not. There must be that maybe that A list thing where it has like a list of the handlers that it uses, and then it runs the command. So I've almost got it working, but almost isn't good enough. So there is some work to do, but I'm just a bit stuck as to what the solution for this is. There must be something else that you need to do. So we've got the handler registered, we've got the function. You can see it works. It will copy the image from the clipboard. It will give you the MIME types. It will prompt you to save it and everything, and it'll insert it. So all that's working. It's just the final piece of the puzzle is getting it to show up in the org buffers without having to reload your init.el every time, which isn't really a practical solution. So I'll keep digging around on this, and I'll put links to all this documentation. But if you search for Emacs 29 Yank Media, this is the list of search results you're going to get. What I would also suggest is actually searching on DuckDuckGo, because that actually gave me the mailing list. Okay, so you can see here the second link is this Yank Media, and if we come across to the thread, where's the thread index? So if we come across to the thread index, that's basically this here. So I didn't get that search result in Google. It didn't pull in the mailing list, but in DuckDuckGo, which is actually powered by Bing, I believe, the second result was the Yank Media thread. And as you can see down here, from Richard Stallman: to any NSA and FBI agents reading my email, please consider whether defending the US Constitution against all enemies, foreign or domestic, requires you to follow Snowden's example. So that's obviously a little boilerplate he's got in there. It sounds exciting. Could you say a little bit more about how it behaves? So this is a really good thread to actually have a read through, and this is where I got some kind of pointers about this. So let's have a actual little look through this thread. So this is from Lars Ingebrigtsen on this, mentioning on this blog post here. And this is actually a couple of years ago, 2021, end of the year. So what I'll do is just actually open up some of these. I'll just open all these up and actually go through so you can see some of it's not useful, but there are some useful snippets in there. And the reason why I'm doing this is so if there's anyone out there who actually uses Emacs, and it's got a bit more Lisp knowledge than me, which is very difficult, to be honest. Maybe this will ring a bell and actually think, yeah, that's the solution. So I just come across here, and I'll put this a bit bigger so you can see here. Finally added a framework for meaningful yanking non-plain text selections into Emacs. And the only mode that supports it yet is message mode. So this was originally saying it only supported message mode, which I believe is for email. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these and find ones that are actually interesting. Org mode. This is someone saying it'd be nice to have this for org mode where it turns into some kind of image link, which is precisely what I've done. I've modified the image handler so that rather than inserting HTML, that it inserts a org link with the file and the image name without the quote. So I've got that. So this is like from a couple of years ago. You can see November 2021. So this has been something that has actually been requested for a couple of years, but it hasn't been implemented by the org devs into org mode. So it is possible. You can see it's possible, but there's just something missing. Okay. So HTML mode. So they have actually done this. Okay. So this is like people saying on different platforms, like Windows, no handler in the cover buffer for anything on the clipboard. You know, people saying, you know, should this be bound to key, perhaps, you know, control Y, and, you know, people saying, no, it's probably not a good idea because it'll break loads of stuff. So I'm just going to go through this and see if there's anything that, you know, maybe will spark a bit of a conversation and get this final bit working. So again, this is actually on Windows. This, I believe there's some stuff on Mac. So again, this is the actual command that does the goods under the hood. GUI get selection clipboard targets. So I'll come across into a buffer here and paste that there, and then run that. What you'll see here is, because I've just copied that to the clipboard, that's the output there. If I was to actually copy an image, just open a new window, it's easier. Fluffy cat. Let's do a fluffy cat. So fluffy cat. So you can come across the Google Images, for example. There's a fluffy cat. If I copy image, switch across here, and then I evaluate this, what you'll see here is image PNG, image JPEG, BMP, you know. So those are all the image types. Those the fluffy cat thing. So you can, you know, just copy stuff from anywhere, either from web browser or another application. So this is what actually is doing the stuff under the hood, and this is what it's actually outputting. And this is specific to Mac OS, and they're basically saying it's very different there. Get clips, get selection clipboard targets returns HTTP. So this, as was mentioned in the documentation, this is only supported in particular modes and on particular platforms. So you may be out of luck on certain platforms, maybe Mac or Windows, but you'll have to give it a go. So, okay, if there's anything else in here, so this is about let's go through these. I think there's so this is recapping the GUI get selection stuff. Okay. I think there was one that was actually let me just go through. There was one that was actually mentioning how this sort of works in a bit more detail. Okay. I haven't tested this on Wayland. My guess is it doesn't work there. Uninformed guess, yeah. It does actually work on Wayland. I'm running on Wayland here. I'm on Fedora, and I'm on the latest version of GNOME, and you can see it's working perfectly. It's copying the image to the clipboard, and from the clipboard into Emacs. Okay, it should work fine if Emacs runs in X Wayland. My version of Emacs isn't running under X Wayland. It's a pure GTK application running natively on Wayland. So running Emacs natively, the pure GTK application on Wayland works with the yank-media command. So there's no issue there. Okay. Okay, so I think this is one here. Okay, from the manual. So this is actually describing how it works. So if you choose copy image in a web browser, that image is put onto the clipboard, and Emacs can access it via GUI get selection. But in general, inserting images into an RPT buffer isn't very useful. You can't really do very much with that by default. So Emacs has a system to let modes register the handler for these complicated selections. Okay, this is the yank-media handler types handler. So again, this is this section here. Let me just increase that for you a bit. That's the yank-media handler, where we have the MIME type, and then we have the sort of function that it's actually going to call. Okay, you can see here the two examples down here. This is the one for the HTML, and this is the one for the image. So it could be called my image handler or whatever. I just left it as org. I left it as the same syntax as the HTML one, but just changed it to org. Okay, a mode can register as many handlers as required. The handler function is called with two parameters, the media type and the data as a string. The handler should then insert the object into the buffer or save it or do whatever is appropriate for that mode. The yank media command will consult the registered handlers in the current buffer, compare that with the available media types on the clipboard, and then pass the matching selection to the handler. If there's more than one matching selection, the user is queried first. Okay, so this is kind of the description of how this whole thing works. So when we run yank media, what it's doing is it's consulting the registered handlers in the current buffer. So that's the crux of the issue, is getting the registered handler show up in the current org buffer. Once it finds that, as you can see when I got it working, it then looks at the clipboard, and then if there's more than one selection, the user is queried first, and that's where copying from Firefox gives you those different options. So what I'll do now is actually I'm going to switch across to Chrome and actually see how Chrome handles it, and you can see that's really nice start page. So let's have a look for let's copy the Emacs logo or something, see if this actually works in Chrome. Yeah, my Chrome's, yeah, that's really impressive. Maybe I'm wondering if it's because I'm running OBS at the same time or so, I don't know. So copy image, let's see if this works. Test 3, yank media. Okay, call this Chrome. Oh, we need to save image to yeah. Select thing chrome.webp. Okay, yeah, you can see it's copying from Chrome as well. Interestingly, you can see it's actually got the background there. But I just wanted to check if that worked in Chrome. You can see how for some reason Chrome's gone AWOL there. So that's the gist of it. So let me just close all these tabs and leave that one open. What I'm going to do is link to all of this. So we've got the thread discussing this. We've got this post here. There's this tiny bit in the Emacs news. And there's not really terribly much else about this that I could actually find to kind of figure out what the issue is. So let's go through this little recap of where all these bits are from. So we've got the GUI get selection clipboard targets. That's how it actually gets the contents of the clipboard as a non-text, as a non-plain text media types like images and stuff. So this will basically work for anything. So suppose you could copy you probably wouldn't want to copy a whole video to the clipboard, but that might be possible. So where are the bits you want to look at? So ctrl-HV, yank media registered handlers. That brings up this, and you go to yank media, ctrl-X1 to put it to one thing here. So this is the yank media thing, EL file. So again, we've got this up here. This yank media explained how it works. yank media, images, HTML and the like from the clipboard. It depends on the current major mode having the support for the, accepting the media type. The mode has to register itself using the yank-media handler mechanism. So again, the only modes currently supported are message and HTML. There's no other mode supported. So that's why it kind of be nice to get this working in org mode. So again, we've got the yank media types here, but this is the get selection. This is the bit down here, yank media handler. And again, this is, I'm guessing, what might be the bit that looks in the current buffer for the registered media handlers. So I haven't got a clue how to get this, but I was wondering, narrowing it down, if it was something to do with this. So I was kind of thinking, is it that you've got to do an add to list? So you can see down here, for mail mode, I have something where you use add to list. So I was kind of wondering, it would be something like add to list, org mode, a list, you know, yank media registered handlers, org or something, that you had to somehow add something to a list for particular modes to be registered or something. If that makes any sense, maybe not. So this is the yank media thing, and I'll also give you show you the path where the HTML mode was. So again, the path may be different on your system because I've built this from source, but root. So I went to user, local, share, Emacs, and then 30, which is my current build, Lisp. So we can see user, local, share, Emacs 30, Lisp, was it modes, text modes, I think it is, down here. Text modes, sgml-mode.el.gz. You come up to the top and search for yank. We've got these two bits again. Remember, the first one is for the HTML. This is the bit we're interested in. Yank media handler image, HTML mode, image yank handler. So you can basically see that's what I've copied up here. I've just changed it to org mode. And then the next bit is the image handler down here. So this again is the image handler that I've copied, and I've removed these bits down here because we don't need those. And I changed the image source into a org file link. So that should all, you would have thought that would have been enough, but there's something missing and I just can't figure out what it is. So hopefully that will trigger something in someone. Maybe they'll figure out what the missing piece of the puzzle is. But it would be nice because then we've got an easy way of actually inserting images into an org document. So let me just delete this one and see if I can get it to. Let me find a. Let's find a bigger picture. Let's go back to the Chronicle site and see if I can find any. Okay, here's a big picture. So copy image. And it should copy them at the size they're actually in. So yank media. We do the WebP. So you just select the MIME type of the image you want to save it as, and we'll call this one WebP. So when you insert it like that, just inserts a link and it's not showing. So just Ctrl-X, Ctrl-V a couple of times, and then you'll see now it's actually inserted that, and you can see that's exactly the same size as the image in the web page. And there are actually options you can put in above image, so you can actually set the size of the images. But you can see how easy this actually would make adding images to an org document instead of, for instance, if I wanted to do this manually. So let's do this manual. So if I was to do this manually, right, save image as, okay, 2.web, it's okay, it's just giving us option as a PNG file. Save that as 2.png. I don't have to. Let me switch back to the terminal. The 2.png desktop yank-media.org. So copy that to there. Switch back to Emacs, and then I could manually the file :2.webp. What did I call that? Oh no, it was a PNG. My bad. I think it was 2.png, wasn't it? There we go. So that's how you'd have to do it manually. As you can see, I forgot the file name. So that's kind of the issue, is that the process you're going to have to go through is you're going to have to manually download the file, move it into place, remember what the file name is, file, put in the org link. It's a pain. So it's much nicer to, if I delete that, it's much nicer just to be able to do this copy image, yank media, bang, 3.webp, search the link, done. You can see the difference in speed, and the reason why that's important, if you're doing it multiple times, it's going to add up. So having the ability to do this, copy images from the clipboard like this, and then insert them into an org document would be absolutely great. But I've almost got it working, but as I said, almost isn't good enough. So, call to arms. If anyone's got any ideas what I'm missing, please leave a comment, get in touch, and hopefully we can get this working for everyone. So we can make Emacs just that little bit better in terms of, adding images and stuff, because that looks badass, mate. That really does. I think if I just pull those down, you can, right. Callum Wilson, Castle, top scorer, so just makes it easy to, if I spell his name right, it just makes it easy to actually adding the headers, whacking some text, and then easily adding the images. And you've got the option to select the kind of images you want to insert: PNG, WebP, TIFF, GIF, BMP, whatever it was. Not BNP, that's something completely different. And then just have them in. And this is also built with ImageMagick support. There's also options within Emacs 29 where you can actually crop images now within Emacs, which is pretty darn cool. So I'll put links to all these bits and pieces under the video, but as I said, I've almost got it working, but I just can't figure out why the registered handler in the org buffer isn't actually showing up. As you can see, I was constantly having to reload my whole init.el file, just evaluating that bit of code wouldn't work. Instead I've tried wrapping this in a with eval after load org kind of statement. I'm wondering if it's just something you've got to do with add to lists. That may be completely wrong. Also tried things like add hook and everything, but you know, it's me blundering around, not having a clue. So almost there. Almost got a way to insert images, but it's not quite working yet. So just need the final piece of the puzzle, and I'll keep blundering around, see if I can figure out what it is. But after spending a couple of hours searching around on Google and other places, I haven't really found much information about this, even though it's about 2 years old. So maybe we just need someone with a bit more Lisp know-how to figure out what the missing piece is, and then we can finally get it working. So that's all for now, and hopefully maybe after a night's sleep or something and some bit more blundering around, I'll get it working, or some bright spark will come up with a solution. But that's all for now, and as I said, I'll stick links to all this under the video so you can actually have a play around and see how cool this feature is. But as again, you'll need Emacs 29. Does work on Wayland. There may be issues on Mac OS or Windows. I haven't tried that and tried this on those platforms because I don't have those computers. So on Linux it's working. On Wayland with Emacs running as a pure GTK application, it's working. Except for the fact that I've got to reload the my init.el file to actually get it to pick up that bit of code. So still work to be done.